Hello world, my name is Mohit Deshpande, and in the previous video we created our very first Java application and all it did was print hello world. So I kind of want to break this down a little bit in detail in this video, and then in the next video, we're going to talk about errors specifically, like what kind of errors can you have? You can have, compile time errors and runtime errors, and what Eclipse as an integrated development environment or IDE can do to help you with resolving these errors or even catching some of the runtime errors before they even happen. So anyway, what I've done is I've actually changed the background of this and made the text a bit bigger so it'll be a bit easier on your eyes for all the viewers out there. So this program, when I run it, is going to print hello world out to this console. And we're really going to be using the console from now on, or at least for the Java portion of the Java module of the Android M development course, because it's going to provide a nice, easy feedback for us as developers to see the consequences of doing certain operations. So in this case, I have this method called system.out.println and then hello world exclamation point in double quotes. And by the way, this thing is what we call a string when you put characters like this in double quotes, and a string is kind of what it sounds like. It's a string of characters. But println can also handle things that aren't strings. I can also print out all kinds of different numbers. So let me demonstrate this. I'll do system.out.println, and that's what the ln stands for. It stands for line, so this whole command is system.out.println is the name of the method. And instead of printing, a string, I'll print out the number, I don't know, 17.5683. And then of course, as with any Java statement, we have to end it with a semicolon. So now let's think about what we expect this to do, and that's going to be very helpful. So we expect the very first line to print hello world. Then we expect right after that, in the next line, in the new line, it'll print 17.5683. So let's run this. And you can see in the console, it's done exactly what we think it does. It'll print out hello world on the first line, and then on the exact next line, it'll print out 17.5683. Now I'm going to change something a little bit. So system.out has print line, but in the event you don't want a new line at the end of whatever you're printing, there's what we call print, and I'm just going to remove these. And now I've changed system.out.println to just system.out.print, and the key difference is that there's no new line character at the end of whatever we're printing out. So the new line character looks something like this, \n, and that signifies, a new line. And I guess more technically speaking, there's different kinds of new line. There's \n, there's \r. Windows, I believe, uses Windows, or Unix uses \r, but that's why we use print line instead of print, because it sort of figures out, for what kind of new line we need. But anyway, so let's think about what we expect this to do now. So now we expect it to print, hello world exclamation point, but because there's no new line, this 17.5683 will now be printed on the same line as hello world, all because there's no new, because we changed this method call to be print instead of print line. And this is kind of a cool thing you might stumble upon, is if you hover over any of these methods, it will give you, this is an example of JavaDoc, and it's really helpful for methods that you're not exactly sure, how the input parameters are used or exactly what it does. And this is sort of, it'll tell you, like, prints the string. If the argument's null, then the string null is printed. Otherwise, the characters are converted into bytes and yada yada yada, and it'll print it out. Now, print line is going to be a bit different in the sense that it'll, in this case, I have this data type is called a double, but instead of printing a string, it's going to print a double and then terminate the line. and then it tells you uh, a potential implementation of this. But really, as you don't really care much about the exact implementation of this, you just care about this documentation because then it tells you what it does. So anyway, let me run this and see if it does what we expect it to do. So I'll save it first and then I'll run it. And you can see in the console window, we get exactly what we thought. Hello world exclamation point, and then 17.5683. And then a note is that it doesn't we don't automatically put a space here, just because if we want to put a space there, we'd have to manually hit the space bar and put a space. But anyway, this does exactly what we expect it to do. So in this video, I just wanted to demonstrate how we use the console, and that is just to print out variables or statements or expressions that we can sort of look at what happens when you do this operation or you do this method call. It'll sort of let us know. And system.out.println or system.out.print is one of the ideal ways to do this. And then we also talked about the differences between print and println, in the sense that println will print whatever is in the between these parentheses to the console, and then it'll terminate it with a new line, and whatever print statement you have next will be on another line, the line below it. So now in the next video, what I want to talk about is the two different kinds of errors. So we'll talk about that in the next video, and I hope to see you all then.